The phone call came on a Tuesday morning. I was sitting in my kitchen, drinking coffee and watching the birds at my feeder. When I saw my son's name flash on the screen, I smiled. Maybe he was finally calling to catch up. We had not talked much lately. Before we proceed, thank you for watching Her Voice Narrative. Please subscribe and tell us where you are watching from in the comment section. I answered with warmth in my voice. Hello, sweetheart. Mom, listen. I'm getting married tomorrow. His voice was rushed, almost excited. I withdrew all the money from your bank accounts. I also sold your house. The closing happened yesterday. You need to be out in 30 days. Anyway, got to go. Bye. The line went dead before I could respond. I sat there holding my phone, staring at nothing. My hands started shaking. Did I hear him correctly? Did my son just tell me he stole everything I owned? Then I started laughing. Not a happy laugh. A cold, knowing laugh that came from somewhere deep inside me. Because my son had just made the biggest mistake of his entire life. You see, the house he sold was not actually the house I lived in. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Catherine Walsh and I am 61 years old. I have lived through things that would break most people. I lost my husband James when my son Ryan was only 10 years old. Heart attack. No warning. One day he was coaching Little League, the next day he was gone. I raised Ryan alone. I worked 3 jobs at one point. Morning shift at the hospital as a nurse. Afternoon bookkeeping for a small accounting firm. Weekend shifts at a retail store. Barely slept. Barely ate. But Ryan never went without. I made sure he had good clothes, school supplies, sports equipment, college tuition. Everything. I sacrificed my entire life for that boy. I never remarried. Never dated. Never took vacations. Every single dollar went to giving Ryan the best possible life. He grew up smart and ambitious. Got into a good university. Landed a great job in corporate finance. I was so proud. My baby boy had made it. All those years of struggle had been worth it. But something changed in Ryan over the years. He became obsessed with money. With status. With impressing people. He started dating this woman named Jessica about 2 years ago. She was 28 years old. Beautiful but cold. The first time I met her, she walked through my house like she was calculating its value. Ryan seemed different around her. More aggressive. More entitled. Less like the sweet boy I raised. 3 months before that phone call, Ryan visited me. He brought up my finances out of nowhere. Mom, you're getting older. You should let me help you manage your money. Set up automatic payments. Make sure everything is organized. I felt uneasy, but he was my son. Surely I could trust him. I gave him access to one of my checking accounts. Just for bills, I told him. Nothing more. But apparently that was enough. 6 weeks later, Jessica and Ryan came over for dinner. Jessica spent the whole evening commenting on my house. This neighborhood has really gone up in value, Catherine. Houses here are selling for so much money now. Have you thought about downsizing? I smiled politely. This is my home. I'm not interested in selling. Ryan jumped in quickly. Course not, Mom. Jessica is just making conversation. But I saw the look they exchanged. Something was brewing. Then came the bank statements. I check my accounts every Sunday morning. It is part of my routine. Coffee, newspaper, check the finances. That Sunday in late September, my heart stopped beating. My savings account showed $1,200. It should have shown $134,000. That money represented everything. My late husband's life insurance. Decades of saving. My security. My future medical care. My emergency fund. My hands shook so hard I could barely hold my phone. I called the bank immediately. The representative confirmed my worst fear. The money had been transferred to an account belonging to Ryan Walsh. My son had robbed me. I could not breathe. I could not think. How was this possible? Why would he do this? I gave him everything. Everything. I sat at my kitchen table for hours, staring at the wall. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever felt. Deeper than losing James. Because James did not choose to leave me. Ryan chose this. The next morning Ryan called. Call. The one I mentioned at the beginning. After he hung up, I sat in silence. Then slowly that cold laugh started. Because Ryan had no idea what he had actually done. The house he sold. That was my rental property on Maple Street. I bought it 15 years ago as an investment. I rent it to a lovely family, the Johnsons. They have been there for 4 years. They have 18 months left on their current lease. Ryan just sold a house with tenants inside it. A house he had no legal right to sell. The buyers would discover the tenants. They would sue him for fraud. He could face criminal charges. But here is the best part. The house I actually live in, this house, is not even in my name. When James died, his mother set up a family trust. This house is owned by the James Walsh Family Trust. I am the trustee, but the property is not under Catherine Walsh personally. Ryan grew up in this house. But he clearly never understood how it was legally structured. When I bought the rental property years later, I kept it simple in my own name for tax reasons. Ryan must have seen that deed and assumed it was my only property. He thought he was selling the house his mother lived in, making me homeless, stealing my home right out from under me. Instead, he sold a rental property full of tenants and committed massive fraud in the process. I should have felt devastated. But instead I felt cold clarity. My son was not the person I thought he was. Maybe he never had been. And now he would face the consequences. I made a list of what I needed to do. First, report the theft to the police. Second, contact my bank's fraud department. Third, hire a lawyer. Fourth, protect the Johnsons. Fifth, gather all evidence. But I hesitated on one thing. Did I really want to send my own son to prison? I remembered tucking him into bed when he was small, reading him stories, cheering at his baseball games, crying with pride at his graduation. That little boy was my whole world. But that little boy was gone. The man who called me this morning was a stranger. A cruel stranger who stole from his mother and laughed about it. Called my friend Dorothy. She is a retired lawyer. We have been friends for 20 years. Dorothy, I need help. My son stole my savings and fraudulently sold my rental property. She was silent for a moment. Kathy, are you certain? I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said quietly, "You need to prosecute him. This is not just wrong. It is criminal. If you let this go, you are telling him he can do anything without consequences. But he is my son. And you are his mother. He stole from you anyway. What does that tell you about who he really is?" Her words hit hard. But she was right. That afternoon I drove to the police station. I brought my bank statements, property deeds, and rental agreements. The officer who took my report was young, maybe 30. He looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, you understand that if we investigate this, your son could go to prison." "Understand. He committed fraud and theft. Those are crimes." The officer nodded slowly. We will open an investigation." Next I called my bank. They started a fraud investigation immediately. Then I contacted the title company that handled the supposed house sale. They were shocked. "Mrs. Walsh, this is serious. The power of attorney documents your son submitted appear to be fraudulent. We are freezing all funds and notifying the buyers." "But they should sue him." That evening my phone rang. "Ryan." I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Mom, what the hell?" "The bank called me about fraud." "What is going on?" Kept my voice calm. "Ryan, you stole $134,000 from me. What did you think would happen?" "I did not steal. Borrowed it. Jessica and I needed it for the wedding and our future. You do not need that much money anyway. You get Social Security." I stayed silent, letting his words hang in the air. And the house sale was completely legal. I had power of attorney. "Ryan, I never signed power of attorney papers. Whatever you have is forged." Silence on his end. "Then yes, you did. Last year when you had pneumonia. I brought them to the hospital." My blood turned cold. I had been hospitalized with pneumonia last year. I was so sick I barely remembered those days. Fever. The medication. The confusion. Did Ryan take advantage of my illness to get me to sign documents I did not understand? Ryan, listen carefully. The house you sold is not the house I live in. It is my rental property. With tenants, who have a lease. You just committed fraud against the buyers and against the Johnsons. What? His voice cracked. What are you talking about? The house on Maple Street is a rental. You sold it without disclosing the tenants. The buyers will sue you. The title company will sue you. You are in serious trouble. He started yelling. This is insane. You are making this up. You are trying to ruin my life because you cannot stand that I am happy with Jessica. Hung up. My phone immediately started ringing again. I turned it off. The next few days were quiet. I met with Dorothy to plan my legal strategy. I contacted the Johnsons to explain the situation. They were horrified. Mrs. Walsh, we are so sorry this is happening to you. What happens to us? Your lease is valid. You are protected. But the new buyers might contact you. Just refer them to me. Tom Johnson shook his head in disbelief. Your own son did this. That is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. But it happened. Dorothy helped me file all the necessary paperwork. Fraud report with the bank. Police report for theft. Complaint with the title company. We built a case that was absolutely airtight. Then Ryan and Jessica showed up at my door. It was a Saturday morning. I was gardening when I heard the car pull up. They both got out looking furious. Mom, we need to talk. Ryan's voice was hard. I stood up slowly, brushing dirt from my hands. Then talk. Jessica stepped forward. She was dressed like she was going to a business meeting. Hair perfect. Makeup flawless. Catherine, this has gone too far. Ryan made a mistake. He apologizes. But you are blowing this completely out of proportion. He stole my life savings and sold my property. That is not a mistake. That is a crime. Ryan moved closer. You are going to drop these charges. You are going to tell the bank and the police that this was all a misunderstanding. And then we are going to move on like a family. I almost laughed. Well, Mom, I am not asking. I am telling you. Drop the charges or we will make your life miserable. How exactly will you do that? Jessica smiled coldly. We will tell everyone you have dementia. We will have you declared incompetent. We will put you in a nursing home. We have lawyers too. I felt ice run through my veins. You are threatening me. Ryan stepped even closer. He was taller than me. Bigger. He used his size to intimidate me. We are not threatening. We are explaining reality. You are an old woman living alone. No one will believe you over us. You will look crazy. Vindictive. Like a bitter mother who cannot let her son be happy. I looked at my son. Really looked at him. This was not the boy I raised. This was someone I did not recognize. Get off my property. Both of you. Mom, do not be stupid about this. Pulled out my phone. I am calling the police. You have 5 seconds. They left. Jessica was yelling threats as they got in the car. Ryan looked back at me with pure hatred in his eyes. As they drove away, I sat down on my porch steps. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From rage. How dare they threaten me? How dare they try to intimidate me in my own home? Called Dorothy immediately. They just threatened to have me declared incompetent and put in a nursing home. Dorothy was quiet for a moment. Then, Kathy, you need to move forward with full prosecution. These people are dangerous. They will not stop unless you stop them. No. File everything. I want them prosecuted to the maximum extent of the law. Over the next week, the legal machine started moving. The police investigation uncovered that the power of attorney documents were indeed forged. The notary seal on them was fake. The notary listed was not even licensed in our state. Ryan had fabricated everything. The title company discovered the tenants and froze the sale. The buyers sued Ryan for fraud. They wanted their deposit back plus damages. The bank's investigation confirmed that all transfers from my account were unauthorized. They flagged Ryan's account and began seizure proceedings. Everything was falling into place. But I felt hollow inside. This was my son. My baby. How had we come to this? Dorothy came over one evening with wine. We sat on my back porch watching the sunset. You did the right thing, Kathy. You know that, right? I sipped my wine. Did I? Or did I just destroy my only child? He destroyed himself. You are just holding him accountable. But he is still my son. Part of me keeps hoping he will apologize. Really apologize. Not the fake apology he gave before. Real one. Dorothy squeezed my hand. Some people only learn through consequences. Ryan needed to learn this lesson. You are teaching him that actions have consequences. That is actually a gift. Some gift. Prison. Better than letting him think he can victimize people without punishment. If you let this go, he would do it again. To someone else. Maybe to Jessica someday. You are stopping a pattern. I wanted to believe her. I really did. 2 weeks later, Ryan called again. His voice was different this time. Softer. Almost childlike. Mom, can we please talk? Just you and me. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop. He was already there when I arrived. He looked terrible. His clothes were wrinkled. His hair was messy. He had dark circles under his eyes. He stood up when he saw me. Thank you for coming. We sat down. I ordered coffee but did not touch it. Ryan started talking. His words came out in a rush. Mom, I have been thinking about everything. About what I did. And I realize now how wrong I was. I betrayed you. The one person who always had my back. Who sacrificed everything for me. And I repaid you by stealing from you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. His eyes filled with tears. They looked real. Jessica pushed me into this. She wanted the money. She wanted a big wedding. Nice condo. She made me feel like I had to provide all this stuff or she would leave me. And I was weak. I listened to her instead of listening to my conscience. I stayed silent watching him. But I take full responsibility. I am not blaming her. I made the choices. I signed the papers. I transferred the money. I did this. And I am so ashamed. He reached across the table for my hand. Pulled back. Mom, I know I do not deserve your forgiveness. But I am begging you to give me a chance to make this right. I will return every penny. I will sell the condo. I will take out loans. Whatever it takes. Just please drop the criminal charges. Cannot go to prison. It will destroy my life. I studied his face. Was this real? Or another manipulation? How long will it take you to return the money? Maybe 6 months. A year at most. I need time to arrange loans and sell assets. Ryan, the investigation is already underway. You do not have 6 months. Then what do you want? Tell me what you want and I will do it. What I wanted was my son back. The real one. The one who existed before greed poisoned him. But maybe that person never existed. I want full restitution in 30 days. Every dollar. Plus interest. I want a written confession. And I want you to accept whatever legal consequences come from this. That is impossible. We cannot get that money in 30 days. Then you should have thought of that before you stole it. His face changed. The softness vanished, replaced by anger. You are really going to do this? Send your own son to prison. You did this to yourself, Ryan. Not me. I stood up to leave. He grabbed my arm. Hard. People in the coffee shop turned to look. Let go of me. He squeezed tighter. You are going to regret this. When I am sitting in prison, when my life is ruined, remember that you chose this. You destroyed your own son because you care more about money than family. I yanked my arm free. Whoa. You destroyed yourself because you cared more about money than your mother. I walked out. My arm hurt where he had grabbed me. I would have bruises. But more evidence. The trial date was set for 3 months later. The prosecutor, a serious man named David Chen, told me we had an overwhelming case. Mrs. Walsh, your son is facing multiple felony charges. Of fraud. Forgery. He is looking at significant prison time. How much time? Potentially 7 to 10 years. Maybe more with the aggravating factors. My stomach dropped. 7 to 10 years. David must have seen my face. Mrs. Walsh, I know this is hard. But your son committed serious crimes. Against you. Against the Johnsons. Against the property buyers. He needs to be held accountable. No. I just keep thinking about the little boy I raised. Wondering where I went wrong. David shook his head. You did not go wrong. Sometimes people make bad choices regardless of how they were raised. This is on him, not you. The weeks leading up to the trial were torture. Ryan and Jessica launched a campaign against me. They told everyone who would listen that I was senile and vindictive. That I was lying. That Ryan had done nothing wrong. Some people believed them. I lost friends. People I had known for years suddenly stopped calling. But others stood by me. Dorothy. The Johnsons. My neighbor Marie. They knew the truth. Marie came over one evening with food. She found me crying in my kitchen. Kathy. She wrapped her arms around me. This is not your fault. Then why does it feel like it is? Because you are a mother. Mothers always blame themselves. But you did not make Ryan steal from you. He chose that. I just keep thinking about all the times I said no to myself so I could say yes to him. All the sacrifices. And this is how he repays me. Marie pulled back and looked me in the eyes. Listen to me. You were a wonderful mother. An amazing mother. Ryan is responsible for his own choices. You are doing the right thing by holding him accountable. Do not let anyone make you doubt that. Her words helped. But the pain was still there. Deep and constant. The trial started on a cold Monday in January. The courthouse was old and imposing. I wore a simple blue dress. Dorothy sat beside me for moral support. Ryan sat across the courtroom with Jessica and his lawyer. He would not look at me. The prosecutor laid out the case methodically. Bank records, forged documents, testimony from the title company, expert analysis of the fraudulent notarization, the Johnsons' testimony about their lease. It was overwhelming, undeniable. Ryan's lawyer tried to paint me as confused and vengeful, but the evidence was too strong. There was no confusion, just cold, calculated fraud. When I took the stand, I told my story clearly and calmly. I explained how I had given Ryan everything, how I had trusted him, how he had betrayed that trust in the worst possible way. The defense lawyer tried to rattle me during cross-examination. Mrs. Walsh, is it not true that you resent Ryan's marriage to Jessica? Well, I resent Ryan stealing my life savings. Those are two different things. You have had arguments about his relationship, have you not? We have had conversations. But this case is not about his relationship. It is about theft and fraud. You live alone. You must be lonely. I have a full life with good friends. Being independent does not make me vindictive. He kept trying different angles, but nothing stuck. I had truth and evidence on my side. Then Ryan took the stand. His lawyer walked him through his version of events. How worried he had been about me. How I had asked for help with finances. How I had willingly signed documents. Ryan's performance was polished. He looked sincere and concerned. Then the prosecutor stood up for cross-examination. Fell apart quickly. Mr. Walsh, you testified that your mother asked you to help with her finances. Can you provide any written record of this request? Ryan hesitated. It was verbal. And the power of attorney papers. When exactly did you have them notarized? Last September. When my mother was in the hospital. By a notary who was not licensed in this state. Ryan's face paled. I did not know that. The notary must have made a mistake. Or you forged the documents. I did not forge anything. The prosecutor pulled out records. Mr. Walsh, phone records show you searched online for how to forge notary seals the week before these documents were supposedly signed. How do you explain that? Ryan had no answer. He stammered. Contradicted himself. His story crumbled. In the gallery, Jessica's face went white. The prosecutor continued. The truth is, you saw your mother as an easy target. She trusted you completely. You exploited that trust. You forged documents, stole her money, sold her property illegally. All to fund your wedding and your lifestyle. Correct. Well, I was helping her. You were helping yourself. Her expense. When closing arguments ended, I felt numb. The jury filed out to deliberate. Dorothy squeezed my hand. It is almost over. But it did not feel over. Felt like something inside me had died. The jury came back after 4 hours. On the count of grand theft, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of forgery, we find the defendant guilty. Ryan's face collapsed. Jessica started crying. I sat perfectly still. Guilty. The word echoed in my head. Sentencing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Ryan was released on bail, but everyone knew what was coming. Prison. During those 2 weeks, Ryan called me once. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Mom, his voice was broken. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know it is too late. I know you will never forgive me. But I need you to know that I understand now what I did. How much I hurt you. And I am sorry. I was quiet for a long moment. Then, Ryan, if you had apologized like this from the beginning, if you had returned the money immediately, if you had shown real remorse instead of threatening me, maybe things would be different. But you did not. You chose to fight me, to intimidate me, call me names. You made your choices. Now you live with them. Hung up. It was the last time we spoke. Sentencing day came. The courtroom was packed. The Johnsons were there. The property buyers. Dorothy. Marie. People who supported me. The judge, a stern woman named Elizabeth Warren, listened to impact statements from everyone. I spoke last. Your Honor, I am not here for revenge. I am here for justice. My son stole from me. He betrayed me in the worst possible way. But more than that, he showed no remorse until he was caught. He threatened me. He tried to destroy my reputation. He has not once taken real responsibility for what he did. Pause. I raised him alone. I gave him everything I had. And this is how he repaid me. I cannot let that go unpunished. Because if I do, I am telling him that he can hurt people without consequences. I am telling him that mothers do not matter. That family is something to exploit. I will not send that message. The judge nodded slowly. Then Ryan's lawyer made his plea for leniency. Ryan stood and apologized again. This time he broke down crying. Judge Warren looked at him for a long time. Mr. Walsh, you did not make a simple mistake. You made calculated choices over many months. You forged documents. You exploited your mother's illness. You committed fraud against multiple people. You showed no remorse until you were caught. You threatened your mother when she sought justice. Pause. You deserve no leniency. The sentence: 8 years in prison with possibility of parole after 5. Full restitution to me and the property buyers. Court costs. Penalties. The total came to over $250,000. Ryan collapsed. The bailiff had to hold him up. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked at me one last time. His eyes were hollow. Me. I looked back steadily. No tears. No words. There was nothing left to say. After the sentencing, Dorothy drove me home. We sat in my living room in silence for a while. Finally she said, "Kathy, you did the right thing. I know it does not feel like it. But you did." I stared at my hands. Did I? Or did I just destroy my son to prove a point? You protected yourself. That is not wrong. That is survival. Over the following months, I learned what had happened to Ryan and Jessica. Jessica divorced him 3 months into his sentence. She claimed she had been manipulated, that she was a victim too. No one believed her. She moved back in with her parents, working retail jobs to pay her share of the restitution. Her social media disappeared. Her friends abandoned her. Ryan in prison was apparently very difficult. He was not built for that world. He got into fights. He struggled with depression. His requests for parole were denied because he showed no genuine rehabilitation. Meanwhile, my life slowly healed. I received restitution payments every month. $50 here, $100 there. It would take decades to recover everything, but the money was coming back. I started volunteering at a senior center, teaching classes on financial protection, how to spot elder abuse, how to protect yourself from family members who might exploit you. Every person I helped felt like redemption. My pain had purpose. I reconnected with old friends, made new ones, traveled to places I had always wanted to see. Ireland, Italy, Scotland. On my 62nd birthday, Dorothy and Marie threw me a party. My house was full of people who loved me. Real love. Not the twisted, exploitative kind Ryan had shown. I realized something that night. I was not alone. I had never been alone. I had community. I had friends. I had a life full of meaning. Ryan had been wrong. Spectacularly wrong. He thought taking my money would destroy me. Instead, it revealed my strength. 3 years into his sentence, I received a letter from Ryan. It was forwarded through my lawyer. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. The letter was long. Pages and pages of his handwriting. He wrote about prison. How hard it was. How scared he was every day. How he had lost everything. His career. His wife. His freedom. His dignity. Then he wrote about me. Mom, I understand now what I did to you. Took me losing everything to understand what I took from you. Not just the money. Your sense of safety. Your trust. Your belief that family meant something. I destroyed all of that for a wedding. For a condo. For things that do not matter at all. I lie awake every night thinking about you raising me alone. Working 3 jobs. Going without so I could have everything. And I repaid you by stealing from you and trying to make you homeless. I am not asking for forgiveness. I do not deserve it. I am not asking you to write back. I do not deserve that either. I just need you to know that I understand. Finally. Too late. But I understand. You were right to prosecute me. You were right about everything. I was entitled. Greedy. Cruel. I became someone you did not raise me to be. I hope someday I can become someone better. Someone worthy of the sacrifices you made for me. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so deeply, truly sorry. Love you. I always will. Even if you never want to see me again. Ryan. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I did not respond. Not then. But something in my heart softened. Just a little. Not enough to forgive. Not enough to forget. But enough to acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, my son was starting to understand what he had lost. Now it has been 5 years since Ryan went to prison. He is still there. He was denied parole again last year. I receive restitution payments regularly. I have recovered about 40% of what he stole. I live a good life. Full life. Have my house. My friends. My volunteer work. My travels. I have not visited Ryan in prison. I have not written back to his letters. He writes me twice a year. Birthday. Christmas. Always apologizing. Always taking responsibility. Never asking for anything. Sometimes I think about visiting him. About seeing if the man in prison is different from the man who stole from me. But I am not ready yet. Maybe I never will be. Dorothy asked me once if I regret prosecuting him. I thought about it carefully before answering. Well, I do not regret it. Because if I had let him get away with it, he would have learned nothing. He would have done it again. To someone else. Maybe to Jessica. Maybe to his own children someday. I stopped that pattern. I held him accountable. That does not mean it does not hurt. Does. Every single day. But I made the right choice for me. Chose myself. My safety. My dignity. My future. And paradoxically, choosing myself led to the richest, fullest period of my life. I am 66 years old now. I have gray hair and wrinkles and arthritis in my hands. But I also have self-respect. Independence. True friendships. Purpose. Ryan took my money. He tried to take my home. He betrayed my trust. But he did not break me. He could not. Because I am stronger than he ever realized. I was strong enough to raise him alone. Strong enough to work 3 jobs. Strong enough to sacrifice everything for his future. And I was strong enough to hold him accountable when he betrayed me. That strength is my greatest achievement. Not the money I saved. Not the house I own. Not even raising a son. My strength. My refusal to be a victim. My choice to protect myself even when it hurt. That is what I want people to understand from my story. You are not obligated to protect people who harm you. Not even family. Especially not family. Love without boundaries is not love. It is enabling. Setting boundaries is not cruel. It is self-preservation. And holding people accountable is not revenge. It is justice. I learned these lessons the hardest way possible. Through betrayal by the person I loved most in this world. But I survived. I more than survived. Thrive. And if my story helps even one person recognize the warning signs, if it helps one person set boundaries with a toxic family member, if it helps one person choose themselves over guilt, then my pain has meaning. Ryan is still in prison. He will be there for 3 more years at minimum. Jessica is working 2 jobs and living with her parents, still paying restitution. The Johnsons still live in my rental house. They send me Christmas cards every year thanking me for protecting them. The property buyers settled their lawsuit. They received full compensation from Ryan's seized assets. And me? I am living my best life. I travel, volunteer, garden. I read. I spend time with people who genuinely care about me. I am not wealthy anymore. Most of my savings went to legal fees and the restitution I never fully recovered. But I am rich in the ways that matter. Rich in friendship. Rich in purpose. Rich in self-respect. Ryan took my money, but he gave me something unexpected. He gave me clarity. About who people really are. About what matters. About my own strength. He thought he was robbing a weak old woman who would not fight back. Instead, he woke a warrior who refused to be anyone's victim. Looking back now, I understand what went wrong. I loved Ryan so completely that I forgot to teach him boundaries. I gave without limits. I sacrificed without teaching him the value of what I was giving up. I raised someone who believed he was entitled to take because I never taught him that taking was wrong. That was my mistake. Not prosecuting him. That was the right choice. My mistake was raising him to believe that love meant unlimited access to everything I had. But I learned. And he learned. Though his lesson came at a terrible price. I wonder sometimes what will happen when Ryan gets out of prison. Will he try to contact me? Will he expect me to help him rebuild his life? I do not know what I will do if that day comes. Part of me, the mother part, wants to help him. Wants to believe he has changed. Wants to rebuild some kind of relationship. But the stronger part, the survivor part, knows that trust is not easily rebuilt. That some betrayals are too deep to fully heal. I will face that decision when it comes. For now I focus on today. On my life. On my healing. Because the truth is, prosecuting Ryan was not just about holding him accountable. It was about reclaiming my power. My voice. My right to be treated with respect. For so many years, I had been Ryan's mother. My entire identity revolved around him. When he betrayed me, I had to decide who I was beyond that role. Was I just a mother who would forgive anything? Or was I a person with value who deserved respect? I chose to be the latter. And that choice changed everything. I found myself again. The person I was before Ryan. The person I could have been if I had not sacrificed everything for motherhood. That person is strong, capable, worthy. And no one, not even my son, can take that away from me. So to anyone reading this story, anyone who has been betrayed by family, anyone who has been told that love means accepting abuse, I want you to know this. You deserve respect. You deserve honesty. You deserve to be treated with dignity. And if someone violates those basic principles, even if that someone is family, you have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to say no. You have the right to set boundaries. You have the right to walk away. Family is not an excuse for abuse. Blood relation is not permission to exploit. The hardest lesson I learned through all of this was that sometimes love requires distance. Sometimes caring for someone means letting them face consequences. Sometimes being a good mother means refusing to enable bad behavior. I spent 34 years being Ryan's mother. Protecting him. defending him, making excuses for him. And in doing so, I failed to prepare him for the real world. A world where actions have consequences, where stealing is wrong, where betrayal destroys relationships. By always saying yes, I never taught him to hear no. By always sacrificing, I never taught him to give. By always forgiving, I never taught him to apologize genuinely. Those were my failures as a mother. But they do not excuse his choices as an adult. Ryan was 32 years old when he stole from me. Not a child. Not a confused teenager. A grown man with a career and education. He knew right from wrong. He simply chose wrong because he thought he could get away with it. That is on him. Not on me. I have had to tell myself that truth over and over. Especially on the hard days. The days when guilt tries to creep back in. The days when I wonder if I should have just forgiven him. Let it go. Accepted the loss and maintained the relationship. But then I remember the phone call. His voice. Casual. Almost gleeful. I withdrew all the money from your bank accounts and sold the house. No remorse. No hesitation. No guilt. He was happy about destroying me. That memory helps me remember why I made the choices I made. I also think about what would have happened if I had not prosecuted him. If I had just let it slide. Ryan would have learned that he could steal from anyone if he just apologized afterwards. He would have done it again. Maybe to Jessica. Maybe to a business partner. Maybe to his own children someday. I would have enabled a pattern of criminal behavior. By holding him accountable, I stopped that pattern. I forced him to face reality. That was an act of love. Even if it did not feel like it at the time. Real love sometimes looks like consequences. Like boundaries. Like saying no when everything in you wants to say yes. I learned that the hard way. My relationship with money changed after all this too. For years I had been so careful with money. Saving every penny. Denying myself even small pleasures. And Ryan still stole it all. So now I live differently. I still save. I still budget. But I also spend money on things that bring me joy. I bought myself a beautiful garden fountain. Something I had wanted for years but always told myself was too expensive. I take myself to nice restaurants once a month. I buy books without checking the price. I get my hair done at a salon instead of cutting it myself. Because what is the point of saving if someone can just take it all anyway? Better to enjoy life now while I can. I also changed my estate planning. Everything I own now goes to charity when I die. The children's hospital where I used to work. The library. The women's shelter. Ryan will inherit nothing from me. That is my final boundary. Some people might think that is cruel. But I think it is honest. He already took his inheritance early. He stole it. He does not get to steal it twice. My lawyer tried to talk me out of this decision at first. Catherine, are you sure? Ryan is still your only child. What if he changes? What if he genuinely rehabilitates? Then he can build his own life. With his own money. From his own work. The lawyer nodded slowly. Understand. It is your choice. It is my choice. Finally. For so long every choice I made was about Ryan. Where to live so he could attend good schools. What jobs to take so I could afford his expenses. Whether to date so I would not neglect him. Now my choices are my own. And that freedom is intoxicating. I wake up every morning and decide what I want to do. Not what Ryan needs. Not what anyone expects. What I want. Some days I garden. Some days I read. Some days I volunteer. Some days I do absolutely nothing. And every single day I feel grateful. Grateful for my home. My health. My friends. My freedom. Ryan tried to take all of that from me. But he failed. 'Cause things can be stolen. Money can be taken. Property can be sold. But strength cannot be stolen. Dignity cannot be taken. Self-respect cannot be sold. Those things are internal. And I have them in abundance. I am proud of the woman I have become through this nightmare. Proud of my courage. Proud of my refusal to be a victim. Proud of my choice to value myself. That pride is something Ryan can never take from me. Sometimes I imagine what I would say to him if I saw him again. He got out of prison and showed up at my door. Think I would say this. Ryan, I loved you more than life itself. I gave you everything I had. And you threw it away for money. That was your choice. And choices have consequences. You are facing yours now. In prison. Alone. With nothing. Faced mine too. And my consequence was freedom. Liberation from a relationship that was destroying me. So in a strange way I should thank you. You freed me by betraying me. You showed me that I am stronger than I ever knew. I hope prison has taught you something. I hope you have learned that people are not ATM machines. That mothers are not resources to exploit. That family means something more than financial opportunity. But whether you learn those lessons or not is no longer my concern. You made your bed. Now you sleep in it. I've made my own bed. And I sleep peacefully every night. That is what I would say. If I ever saw him again. But honestly, I do not think I will. I think when Ryan gets out of prison, he will disappear. Start over somewhere new. Try to forget this chapter of his life. And I will let him. Because I have no desire to see him either. Some relationships cannot be repaired. Some trust cannot be rebuilt. Some betrayals are final. This is one of them. Ryan is my son. That biological fact will never change. But he is not part of my life anymore. And he never will be again. That is my choice. My boundary. My right. And I make it without guilt. Without hesitation. Without regret. 'Cause I finally understand that I matter too. Not just as a mother. As a person. Catherine Walsh matters. Her feelings matter. Her safety matters. Her future matters. It took me 61 years and a devastating betrayal to learn that lesson. But I learned it. And now that I know it, I will never forget it again. I share my story now to help others. I speak at community centers, senior groups, at women's organizations. Every time I tell my story, I see recognition in people's eyes. They have experienced similar things. Maybe not as extreme, but similar patterns. The adult child who constantly borrows money and never pays it back. The family member who guilts them into co-signing loans. The relative who has power of attorney and slowly drains their accounts. Financial abuse of elderly people is shockingly common. And it is usually committed by family members. People trust family. They want to believe their children would never hurt them. They make excuses. They enable. They sacrifice. Just like I did. Until the betrayal becomes so blatant that it cannot be ignored anymore. My message to these people is always the same. Protect yourself. Set boundaries. Do not let guilt control you. Your children are adults. They are responsible for their own lives. You do not owe them your life savings. You do not owe them your home. You do not owe them unlimited access to your resources. You raised them. You did your job. Now it is their turn to build their own lives. If they cannot do that without stealing from you, that is their problem, not yours. And if they steal from you anyway, prosecute them. Do not make excuses. Do not let them manipulate you. Hold them accountable. Because that is what love actually looks like. Real love. Tough love. Love with boundaries. Not the twisted, enabling, destructive version of love that I practiced for so many years. People often thank me after these talks. They tell me I gave them courage. That I helped them see their situation clearly. That I inspired them to protect themselves. Those thanks mean everything to me. They give my pain purpose. They turn my nightmare into something that helps others. That is redemption. Real redemption. Not Ryan's letters from prison apologizing. Those might be genuine. But they change nothing for me. My redemption comes from using my experience to protect others. To educate. To empower. That is legacy. That is meaning. And it is far more valuable than any inheritance I could have left Ryan. I also want to address something that people often ask me. Do you still love your son? The honest answer is complicated. I love the memory of the little boy he used to be. The child who hugged me tight and told me I was the best mom in the world. The teenager who brought me flowers on Mother's Day with money he earned himself. The young man who called me from college just to hear my voice. I love those versions of Ryan. I will always love them. But the man who stole from me, the man who tried to make me homeless, the man who threatened me and called me names, the man who showed no remorse until he was caught. I do not know that man, and I do not love him. Maybe that sounds cold. Maybe people think a mother should love her child unconditionally no matter what. But I think unconditional love is a myth. A dangerous myth that enables abuse. Love should have conditions. Basic conditions like honesty, respect, and kindness. When someone violates those conditions repeatedly and without remorse, love dies. Has to. For self-preservation. My love for Ryan died the day he called me and casually told me he had robbed me. It died the day he showed up at my house with Jessica and threatened to have me declared incompetent. It died the day he grabbed my arm in that coffee shop and left bruises. Each betrayal killed a piece of that love until nothing was left except memory. I do not feel guilty about that anymore. I used to. I used to think something was wrong with me for not loving my son. But now I understand that my lack of love is actually healthy. It is my mind and heart protecting me from further harm. Love is not a prison. I am not required to love someone who harms me just because we share DNA. I am free to love people who treat me well. And I am free to stop loving people who treat me badly. That freedom is beautiful. Liberating. And it is a freedom I wish more people would claim for themselves. Especially mothers. We are taught that motherhood means endless sacrifice. Unlimited forgiveness. Unconditional love no matter what. But that teaching is wrong. And dangerous. Mothers are people too. We have limits. We have breaking points. We deserve respect. And when our children violate that respect, we have the right to walk away. That does not make us bad mothers. Makes us human. I was a good mother to Ryan for 34 years. I gave him everything. When he stole from me, I became a good mother to myself. I protected myself. I valued myself. Chose myself. Both versions of motherhood are valid. Both are important. But the second one, the one where I mother myself, is the one that saved my life. As I sit here now at 66 years old, I feel at peace in a way I never did before. My house is quiet but not lonely. My days are full but not overwhelming. My heart is guarded but not closed. I have learned to be content with my own company, to enjoy silence, to find joy in simple things. A good cup of coffee in the morning, the way sunlight filters through my kitchen window, the sound of birds in my garden, a good book on a rainy afternoon. These small pleasures fill my life now. And they are enough. More than enough. They are everything. 'Cause I am not waiting anymore. Not waiting for Ryan to change. Not waiting for an apology that means something. Not waiting for a relationship that will never be healthy. I am living. Right now. In this moment. Fully and completely. That is Ryan's final gift to me. Though he did not mean it as a gift. By betraying me so completely. He freed me from the burden of hope. I no longer hope he will become someone different. I no longer hope we will reconcile. I no longer hope for a happy ending to our story. I have accepted reality. And in that acceptance I found peace. Some stories do not have happy endings. Some relationships cannot be saved. Some people cannot change. And that is okay. That is life. The happy ending is not reconciliation with Ryan. The happy ending is my life right now. My freedom. My peace. My self-respect. I won. Not because Ryan went to prison. But because I survived and thrived. He wanted to destroy me. He tried to take everything. But I am still here. Still standing. Still strong. And that is the ultimate victory. So if you are watching this video and you see yourself in my story, I want you to know something important. You are not alone. What happened to you is not your fault. And you deserve better. Do not let guilt keep you trapped in toxic relationships. Do not let family obligations force you to accept abuse. Do not let anyone tell you that love means being a doormat. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to set boundaries. You have the right to walk away. And if you do walk away, you are not a bad person. You are a strong person. A wise person. A person who values themselves enough to demand respect. That is something to be proud of. Not ashamed of. I am proud of the choices I made. Even though they were hard. Even though they cost me my relationship with my son. Even though some people judged me for it. I am proud because I chose myself. Finally, after 61 years of choosing everyone else, that choice changed everything. It gave me a life worth living. A life of dignity and peace. And if my story helps even one person make that same choice for themselves, then every bit of pain was worth it. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for understanding that sometimes the right choice is the hardest choice. I hope my journey gives you strength for your own. I hope it shows you that survival is possible. That healing is real. That life after betrayal can be beautiful. 'Cause it can. I am living proof. At 66 years old, I am happier than I have ever been. More at peace. More confident. More myself. Ryan tried to take that from me. But he failed. And that failure is my victory. My triumph. My happy ending. Remember, you are stronger than you know. Braver than you think. And worthy of so much more than you have been accepting. Stand up for yourself. Protect yourself. Choose yourself. You will not regret it. Promise you that. Because choosing yourself is never the wrong choice. It is always the right one. May you find the courage to make that choice if you need to. May you find the strength to walk away from people who harm you. May you find the peace that comes from valuing yourself. And may you always remember that you matter. You are important. You are worthy of respect and love and dignity. Never forget that. No matter what anyone tells you. No matter how much they try to make you feel guilty. You matter. And that is the truth I wish I had known decades ago. But I know it now. And I live it every single day. That is my story. That is my truth. That is my victory. And it can be yours too. If you are brave enough to claim it.